Since 1997, when the Lexus RX prototype was shown at the Chicago Auto Show, 3 generations of the crossover have appeared. The last, 10 years after the official debut, in 2008. Then came the era of the RX350, which received an index in accordance with the engine, just like the RX300 and RX330, which was produced before 2004. In the same year, a hybrid version of the RX400h was released, which became surprisingly popular with advanced city dwellers. After updating the model in 2007, there were 2 restylings, in 2010 and 2012. The first could have been left out if it weren't for the appearance of the front-wheel drive version of the RX270 and the new hybrid RX450h. In 2012, a deeper restyling took place, bringing the look of the crossover to the new standards of the brand. However, in fact, from 2008 to 2015, the car changed little, except for the appearance of new engines. Therefore, although our story will refer to the 2012 version of the RX350, information about most problems applies to cars of earlier years of production. From Lexus you expect impeccability just unearthly. The more painful is the blow to reality. The list of problems can be long and even shocking. However, it should be noted that this is only a matter of large numbers. In general, the car is quite reliable, although experts say that the second generation is far from the first in terms of reliability, and the third is already close to the second. This trend is also observed in a number of other models of the Japanese manufacturer, no matter how sad it is to admit this. In addition, unlike some European companies, Lexus has never been stingy with service and recall campaigns. Problems for the owner of a used RX350 usually begin in winter, and, as a rule, from the current radiator. Changing it to the original, which costs 25,000 rubles, does not make sense, especially since some Taiwanese one may be more reliable. Until 2008, the rubber part of the oil pipeline, the VVTI system, was torn, which led to a rapid loss of oil. It was changed according to the service program, or just in the garage service, for an all-metal one for $25. Until 2012, the problem lasted with another tube, the oil cooler hose. Also a service campaign or a replacement anywhere, since there are no difficulties. The main thing is not to forget both gaskets. Immediately after starting, while the engine is warming up, and you are brushing the windows with a brush, listen to the engine. If crackling is heard, these are the clutches of the drive of the valve phase control system, and the engine has the wrong oil. Change it to the one recommended by the manufacturer, but the most winter class, say, 0W40. This feature of the motor does not cause any problems, except for an unaesthetic sound. In 2010, there was a service campaign to replace the clutches, but it turned out that the new ones cracked no less. The so-called fifth-cylinder problem that plagued ES sedans with the 3.5-liter 2GR FSE engine is not familiar to RX owners. In passenger cars, dust was sucked into the cylinder bypassing the filter, due to which the cylinder piston group failed. The second powerful blow of winter and off-season is applied to the body and interior. Outside, the chrome peels off, inside the plastic creaks. Paint chips may start to bloom, especially on the hood. You definitely don't expect this from Lexus. It seems that the body is galvanized, and the hood is rusting. For those who wish to preserve the marketable appearance, we can recommend again to paste over the front of the car with the film. Those who missed the moment will also have to paint the part. Chrome is changed to non-original, as well as cracking windshields. Chinese ones are 3 times cheaper than OEM, thicker, heavier, but stronger. Glass will cost $100, installation, the same amount. The air suspension can deliver a lot of headaches to the owner. It is, of course, completely independent, with suspension struts. McPherson front, multi-link rear. The malfunction manifests itself in the fact that the cylinders begin to poison. Officials change them as a set, the whole rack. It costs 150,000 rubles. Minimum. Craftsman adapted to change only pillows. You can find restored racks worth up to 15,000 rubles. The actual repair will cost about 10,000 rubles. The compressor fails extremely rarely. Restored or just a second-hand one will cost 6,000. There are several other minor and major troubles associated with the suspension. One day, it may seem to you that the car is standing a little tilted. If it seemed on the second day, then it's time to change the suspension arm position sensor. If unpleasant knocks are heard ahead, the strut support bearing or the same pneumatic elements are replaced. The radical solution to many problems is classic. replacing the pneuma with springs. Lexus RX350 is leaking. I wrote and got scared myself. If the Lexus is already leaking, then what can we expect from the rest? Nevertheless, there are many places for water to enter the cabin. Owners notice drips at the corners of the hatch due to a clogged drain tube. Water oozes through the points of attachment of the railings, through the dried sealant of the joints of the body panels, especially at the rear. All this is eliminated by cleaning, purging, and additional sealing. Under the bottom, too, not everything is dry. The transfer case may be leaking. The engine is located across, so it would be more correct to talk about the power takeoff, but nonetheless. Oil oozes down the gasket, usually from one loose stud. There is no oil, Niagara, there, but you need to monitor the level. In addition, you must admit, a Lexus crackling engine, and even with oil streaks, is not the most flattering sight for the owner. You can get rid of drips by reinstalling the cover with a new branded sealant. Rarely, but it happens that oil flows through the plug, where the speedometer cable should be. There is a cheap gasket, and it costs almost nothing to replace it. A generally reliable transmission can become twitchy when shifting over time. Accumulated errors can be reset by changing the firmware along the way. But this is if the car is from America, and there are not many of them. The European version, which was sold with us, has already been officially flashed with the new program. The 6-speed automatic works, as a rule, very quickly, but it does not like overly dynamic acceleration, especially after 150,000 kilometers of run. The problems are common: friction clutch burning, channel clogging. It happens that the torque converter slips. Changing the oil usually helps. The transmission is equipped with the torque converter lockup mechanism from 2nd to 6th gear, which saves fuel and has a positive effect on driving performance when operating in manual mode. 4-wheel drive and 3rd-generation cars again received a viscous coupling in the center differential lock, which somewhat improved patency. Intelligent traction control with its own name, active torque control, helps all-wheel drive to cope with slippery surfaces and diagonal hanging. The most amusing disadvantage of Lexus, which is noted by users, should be called insects in the lanterns. The tail light housings are made ventilated, because they simply melted on the RX350, but now it is worth leaving the car for half an hour on a summer evening, as midges fill up there. What to do? Shake out. The market position of the Lexus RX was shaken somewhat after the emergence of such serious competitors as BMW and Mercedes-Benz. However, their cost continues to be high, both new and used. And if you are not afraid of midges in the lanterns and some femininity of the style of this crossover, you can take a closer look at it. Better if with an intelligent mechanic for the company.